Goblins and wizards have never exactly seen eye to eye, literally and figuratively. These short-statured humanoid creatures have long since been the subject of considerable prejudice within the wizarding world, with Wizardkind often looking down on them both physically and socially. And it's this discriminatory attitude that has led to tension and conflict over the centuries, as well as widespread mistrust and misunderstanding. Even the most progressive members of the wizarding world felt a general mistrust for the tiny, monstrous humanoid creatures, and their position within society reflected this negative attitude towards them. But this totally undeserved treatment of goblins wasn't met with silence. You see, over the years, the goblins have gotten together on a few occasions and rebelled, hoping for just one basic and reasonable outcome: to be treated with equal respect. However, these attempts at being recognized by Wizardkind fell on deaf ears, with Wizardkind's prejudice toward the creatures prevailing on nearly every occasion. For many years, goblins accepted their fate. They were allowed Gringotts, and they were given a number of rights in the wizarding world. But they still weren't considered equals, and the fact that their rebellions would fail time after time meant that eventually a different approach would have to be taken. In fact, things just seemed to get worse for goblins with each subsequent rebellion. The rebellions were violent, but ultimately their goal was always equality. But after enough time had passed, enough was enough, and ushered in was a new era of goblins that had shifted their mindset. They no longer wanted to just be equal, they wanted to be better. They wanted to supplant Wizardkind as the dominant race of the magical world. And spearheading that moment was the most dangerous goblin to shape wizarding history, and the subject of today's video, Ranrok. Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. Ranrok's hatred of Wizardkind started very early on in his youth, when he approached a wizard running an illegal dragon camp in hopes that he could join him. During their conversation, Ranrok noticed that the wizard had accidentally dropped his wand, and, in an attempt to help him, Ranrok picked it up, which in turn made the wizard infuriated. You see, this particular wizard resolutely believed in the wand ban, which denied all non-human creatures the right to wield a wand. In 1612, the wand ban, or code of wand use, was introduced in response to a display of violence in Hogsmeade. It was during this year that the Goblins unleashed one of their most devastating rebellions to date, targeting the wizarding village of Hogsmeade. And so, the wizarding community of Britain convened and created a series of laws that restricted non-human magical creatures from carrying wands. This restricted wands to only human wizards, and made it a crime for goblins, house elves, giants, and other non-humans to wield them. While human wizards simply hoarded wand lore in the centuries before, now it was actually illegal for goblins to study and possess wands. At a glance, you can see how this law made it almost impossible for goblins to defend themselves from wand-armed wizards and witches. And so, because Ranrok had the audacity to touch his wand, the wizard attacked Ranrok, nearly beating him to death. Ranrok stumbled upon an illegal dragon camp. After weeks of sly surveillance, he finally summoned the courage to speak to the wizard in charge. Ranrok wanted to join them and the creatures. The wizard happened to drop his wand. Ranrok saw an opportunity. He picked it up, went to hand it back as a means of introducing himself. The sight of a goblin with a wand sent the wizard into an instant rage. He beat Ranrok nearly to death. Ever since, Ranrok has despised Wizardkind, sees us all as cruel. This experience was pivotal in permanently altering Ranrok's view of Wizardkind and left him with an insatiable hunger for revenge on the entire wizarding population. This one experience set the stage for Ranrok's transformation from a hopeful advocate for goblin rights to a vengeful adversary of the entire wizarding population. Ranrok's newfound thirst for revenge was fueled by the deep-seated resentment and anger he harbored towards those who had perpetuated the discrimination and mistreatment of goblins. This experience also added fuel to the fire for Ranrok's radicalization and his decision to take a more aggressive and confrontational approach in addressing the injustices faced by goblins. No longer would he sit idly by while his people faced such injustices. And so, Ranrok decided that he would build an army of loyalists, goblins who shared his vision of seeking vengeance and retribution against the wizarding population. With his newfound resolve, Ranrok began meticulously planning his campaign, strategizing how to amass a formidable force that would challenge the existing power dynamics and demand respect for goblins. He knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but he was determined to lead his army of loyalists in the pursuit of justice and equality for their kind. Ranrok's bold decision marked the beginning of a turbulent chapter in the ongoing saga of goblin-wizard relations. Ranrok was different from his predecessors in that he wanted to supplant Wizardkind, not just achieve equality. But this was a tall order, and in order to achieve something drastic like this, Ranrok knew that he would need to do something different, something big. And after many years of research, Ranrok eventually discovered his solution: ancient magic. Ancient magic refers to powerful, complex spells and rituals that have been passed down through wizarding history for thousands of years. These magical practices are often shrouded in mystery and legend, and many of them are considered dangerous or forbidden. Perhaps the most enigmatic component of ancient magic, however, is that its prevalence has seemingly diminished over time, with very little ancient magic still existing in the current era. By the 19th century, ancient magic had become a rarity that had seemingly all but vanished from the wizarding world. Those who had the capability to perceive and to manipulate it were considered to have a unique and exceptional ability, and even Hogwarts professors had a limited understanding of it. Ancient magic is magic which happens independently of efforts by wizards, an effect which is triggered by events and powers endemic to the nature of reality. It is extremely old and mysterious, and a wand is not necessary for it to work. It is part of the magicalness of the universe. Ancient magic is different from modern magic in several ways. First, it requires a deeper understanding of the nature of magic itself, and often involves more complex incantations, wand movements, and other magical gestures. Second, ancient magic is often tied to ancient artifacts or locations, and requires a certain level of knowledge or expertise to access. It's also worth noting that ancient magic appeared in traces or whispers to those with the ability to harness it. Over the course of history, few individuals have truly possessed the ability to wield ancient magic, and its mastery is widely appreciated as a sign of a particularly powerful witch or wizard, or in this case, goblin. And so Ranrok's goal became to harness said ancient magic, joining the ranks of the few powerful witches and wizards that had harnessed it before him. After discovering the ancient magical powers of a witch called Isidora Morganach, Ranrok focused his rebellion on acquiring the repositories of her ancient magic, which had been built by his ancestor, Bragbor the Boastful. This led him to seek out the existing repositories, as he thought he would finally be able to subjugate Wizardkind with that kind of unbridled power. While most of his soldiers were goblins, Ranrok and his followers did also ally with a faction of dark wizards led by Victor Rookwood. It is said that this alliance was a tumultuous one, and only made due to Victor Rookwood's knowledge of his keeper ancestor, Charles Rookwood, a wizard who would have had intimate details regarding the ancient magic that Ranrok was seeking. In his pursuit of acquiring the ancient magic and overthrowing all of Wizardkind, Ranrok and his loyalists waged open warfare on the witches and wizards of Britain throughout the 1880s. The first of these battles, but certainly not the last, was a raid on the small village of Feldcroft. With multiple other acts of violence in the wizarding world, including one at Gringotts Bank and the murder of his brother, the culmination of all of his efforts were put on display when Ranrok and his loyalists ultimately attacked Hogwarts Castle from tunnels they'd excavated underneath the school. They did this to access the Keeper's Caverns, the store of ancient magic constructed by Isidora and Bragbor in the Tudor era. And so, at long last, Ranrok reached the final repository of ancient magic, and was immediately successful in wielding it. With the power of the ancient magic within him, Ranrok was able to transfigure into something that no one else had ever done before: a dragon. This may have been a subtle nod to his origins and the dragon tamer that had beaten him in his youth. And after achieving his final form, Ranrok believed himself to be unstoppable. In the end, however, a student of Hogwarts who had the innate ability to wield ancient magic defeated Ranrok in his dragon form, sending forth a burst of the ancient power and striking down Ranrok, who died instantly. Upon his death, he returned to his goblin form, and it's believed that his group of loyalists retreated, never to be heard from again. And with that, we've come to the end of another video. What did you think? Had you ever heard of Ranrok? Please share your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.